All right, this is a video I'm excited to do because I had a subscriber reach out to me in email and they said, Casey, what are the biggest mistakes in life that you've made? Now, I want to make this because I don't know if you guys know this or not, but you don't get to a person like me. Like you don't, like, I didn't become what I became without making a shitload of mistakes over the years. Like when I'm telling you, like when I was in my early 20s, I made every mistake as a man and every mistake with women that you guys have made, and I made every mistake in my personal life. I'm telling you, wisdom only comes from doing real life things and learning from them. So I wanted to make a video explaining the top 20 mistakes that I made in my 20s. Okay, and next year I'm going to be 28 years old. Okay, and these are going to really help you gain the clarity that I didn't have from, a father figure or from, friends or old grandparents, things like that. I didn't have anybody to tell me this. So I want you to stick with me through all this because I ranked these in sequential order. Okay, number one, or the last point I'm going to give you at the end is going to be the biggest mistake that I ever made, and that's how it's going to be ranked. And after this video is over, be sure to check out the MBT webinar down below as well. I plug that in every video because I've had thousands of students radically transform their dating life and go from like 0 options to actually attracting and keeping the women that they want. And I put together a full-length 2-hour behind-the-scenes presentation for you. So once this video is done, please check that out as well because it will serve you at the highest level. But nevertheless, let's get into these. The 20th mistake that I made as a man, okay, is moving too fast in life, okay? And this stems into urgency. Now, guys, when I tell you I move too fast in life, I'm talking I move too fast in life with everything in my early 20s, okay? Anything that I would do in business, it would have to get done right now. Anything that I would have to, like if I was dating a girl and we like had a date plan or something, I have to do it right now, okay? Urgency. This urgency started to weave into who I was, and it created a hell of a lot of anxiety. It was like I told myself, like, goals that should take 5 to 10 years for somebody, it's like I told myself that they have to be done, within a year or two. It's like I have to get to this level. I have to press. I have to perform. Okay, that's really great to make leaps and bounds, but I'm going to tell you this right now. Your mental health will suffer because you haven't actually internalized the element of patience. Now, every single man needs an element of patience. And if you don't, okay, that's going to chip away at your masculinity because as a masculine man who actually can rationalize things and make calculated decisions, you have to be able to sit and analyze, take a breath of fresh air, and not act on impulse. This is one of the things that I've had to learn. I'm moving too fast, putting all this added stress on myself of telling me goals have to be hit by this time or all of that. It makes life a lot more difficult. So that's the 20th mistake. The 19th mistake that I made as a man would be hooking up with women that I didn't like. This one was so wrong on so many levels. And guys, I'm going to explain why. When you hook up with women that you don't like, and when I'm telling you like I didn't like them, like I was attracted to them, like they could make my dick hard, but I didn't, and like they were turned on by me, but I didn't like them as a person. And this happened throughout all my 20s. I'd see traits where they're either party girls, they're addicted to Snapchat and social media. There's just like, there's things about them that I look at them and I'm like, I would never see a future with them, or I don't really like them. But see, this confuses them because sex for a woman is a very intimate experience, typically if she's not damaged. Like if you got a girl who wants to go out and sleep with a bunch of guys, there's typically something a little bit off, right? So like the problem with it is like when I was hooking up with all these women, eventually a lot of them would get attached and they would then wonder why they can't get commitment or why they're not good enough, and this would hurt them. So that's what I want you to realize. Like just like how some of you watch this channel and maybe you've been hurt by a woman in the past, women get hurt too. And I think that if people would actually, especially if men would look at it and say, hey, not only is me sleeping with all these women a big waste of time, like not only is this a detriment to like my mental health, or this is a detriment to where I'm sleeping with the wrong people, or not only that, I'm running the risk of pregnancy and putting like my own life at a risk that it shouldn't be. Okay, that's one element, but you got to remember too, this also hurts the girl on some level. So just keep that in mind. This is something, if I could go back, I would have not have done that. I wouldn't have partied as much. I wouldn't have like hooked up with as many girls, okay? Which leads me into mistake number 18. Mistake number 18 was seeing multiple women at the same time. See, I was consistently the guy who was cocky and arrogant. And not only was I cocky and arrogant, I was also extremely self-centered. So I'd tell myself, like, I don't have time for family. I don't have time for friends. I don't have time for birthday parties of people I've known for 10 years. I don't have time to go to that guy's wedding. And the truth was that I had time, I just didn't make it a priority. But what I realized is that I would consistently make my dating life or seeing multiple women at a time a priority. And all this was ego fulfillment. This was sexual fulfillment. This was loss of impulse control. And I wasted a lot of time. And I'm not just saying I wasted a lot of time professionally in my career. I wasted a lot of time as a man because there's other things I could have taken up. I could have taken up mountain biking. I could have, I used to be super like into compound bows and shooting archery. Like I would deer hunt I had a Bowtech Insanity. I was into I stopped doing that. Like there were certain things I stopped doing because my sex life I started to deem as more important. This I started to realize was the quickest way to emasculate a man. So you can't do this. Okay, seeing multiple women at a time. The guys who are going to be telling you to do that online, yeah, it might be okay to gain some experience to see how female nature is so you can learn what women respond to. And yes, do women respond to you more when you have other women in your life? Of course they do. There's more competition anxiety and they start to crave you. But just because they crave you and just because they want you, that doesn't necessarily mean you're any better off. Because after the bedroom, after that sexual experience, you probably don't even like that girl. And truthfully, she's getting attached to you for reasons that she shouldn't be. So keep this in mind, okay? Number 18, seeing multiple women at the same time was not good. If I could go back, I wouldn't have done it. Total waste of time. The 17th mistake that I made was partying to meet people. Okay, I would party or I would even throw parties to meet people. And all that would come of it was shallow relationships. And I'm going to explain what I mean. So there's two ways I'd party. When my parents first got a divorce, okay, I was about 18, 19 years old. And oftentimes my dad would travel. Okay, so as my dad would travel, I'd throw house parties and I'd have people over. Okay, as I'd throw people over, there's a lot of, people at my house that I didn't necessarily know. And I would tell myself, like, this is fun, or like I could host an event. Yeah, it's cool to some degree, but you have to remember that when you're meeting people just to meet people or to tell yourself that you need this big, abundant social life, what you're going to run into is shallow relationships with people that don't matter. And I'm not even talking about women. I'm talking about people in general. Like, these people are probably not going to care about you. It's not going to matter past a couple party experiences. Most of these people are going to be drinking anyways. Like, stuff like that is not good. So keep that in mind, okay? Partying to meet people, like, if I could go back, once again, a waste of time, and I didn't have my priorities in level and on a level that they should be. My early 20s was spent mainly chasing ass, spent partying, and it was also spent like telling myself that I'm on my purpose, but I need all of this other stimulation going on at the same time too to be content. That is not good. That element of consistent discontentment and unsatisfaction with my life, that right there, yes, it pressed me to get external gratification, whether it be sexually or whether pushing myself in the gym or whatever the case may be, but none of this was important as I look back in the long run. So that's number 17, partying to meet people that ended up in shallow relationships. Number 16, okay, not being content with the life that I had. So a large majority of my whole life, I was consistently discontent, right? Discontent is in like I wasn't happy or I wasn't satisfied with how I was. What I mean by that is like I would, if I finally bench press 225 for 5, I'd tell myself I need to bench press 225 for 10, right? If I made, 200 grand that year, I'd tell myself next year I have to make 500 grand. If I, got a nice house, I'd tell myself in a couple years I need a bigger house. And all this did, by not being content with the life that I had, I'm telling you this straight up, I wasted probably a decade of existing without ever living. Just let that sink in for a second. I existed, but I wasn't even there. It's like, there was one time I was in a 3-year relationship with a girl. Strong woman, and I definitely didn't give her probably the level of respect that she deserved because I just was never present. And what I could see with that is like, it was me being not content. You have to get a bigger house. You have to make more money. You have to have a hotter chick. The chick you have is good, but it's not good enough. One day, when you're 35 and you're a multimillionaire, then you know what's going to happen. Then you can finally take a step back and be satisfied. And like a lot of people reference The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, the book. It is one I have read recently because all we have is this present moment. Like, I could die tomorrow. You could die tomorrow. And this has nothing to do with like even your manhood. This is just like life reflection lessons as a man. Like when you put so much stress and urgency on yourself to perform, like you start to like, you focus so much on like making a living, or you focus so much on your career, you focus so much on getting ahead that you never stop to see what's in front of you. So that was my 16th mistake, okay, not being content with the life that I had. My 15th mistake is being in LTRs, long-term relationships, with the wrong women. Okay. When I was in long-term relationships, oftentimes it would be with the wrong women, to the point to where we were physically attracted to each other. I thought she was beautiful. She thought I was a hot guy. And then we were just naturally together and we try to make it work. And that is not good. When you're in a relationship with a woman, and I'm talking about something that's going to go the distance, okay, if that's a goal of yours, if your goal is to get a girlfriend, or if your goal of yours is to have a wife one day, or your goal is to have a family, the physical attraction is important, but it can't be everything. And the reason why it can't be everything is that as a man, you have to make sure that the women are bringing other things to the table that's going to add value to your life. So what would happen is I would get into relationships with hot girls, but maybe they party a lot, right? Maybe they drink a lot. Maybe they're constantly needing to be the socialite and the center of attention. Maybe they're dating me, right? But, you know, they have this wild social life where it's like they constantly want to go out, and I'm constantly going to have to indulge in that because now we're together. It's like things like that. It, like the compromises together of not having the same values will tear a person apart. So me being in long-term relationships with the wrong women, once again, I lost out on time. What this time element is so important. As you age, you start to understand that your time is limited. You only have a certain number of heartbeats. You will die one day. You'll be in the grave one day. And that's why I just want to make sure that my time is spent doing the right things. And these videos I make even help me document this, to say this, so I can look back one day to know that I've learned and I've grown from the mistakes that I've made. So that's my 15th, okay, LTRs with the wrong women. My 14th biggest mistake is living with a woman, especially a woman that I was not married to. I lived with a woman for about a year and a half, and I can tell you, living with a woman who you're not married to, okay, and you guys are just doing it to be the next step in the relationship or the next progression in the relationship, I'm going to tell you this. If you were a workaholic like me, or you were a type of guy where you're constantly, it's very hard for you to be present in the moment, or maybe you're in your early 20s where you're grinding and you're building yourself, okay, meaning you don't have as much time for an abundant social life or a lot of activities yet. There's no quicker way to kill genuine desire with a woman than being there every single day. If a woman isn't fighting for your time in some way, shape, or form, if a woman knows every day when she wakes up that you're just there automatically, it is impossible for her to fall in love with you. And I don't like, you're gonna watch this and you're gonna hear this and you're gonna think some women are different. You're gonna watch this and you're gonna think, well, yeah, maybe it's up to random chance, and if we click, we click. That is not how it works. Women want attention, okay? And the more valuable your time and attention is, the more she views you as a higher value guy. This has nothing to do with your looks, your money, or status. It's where you place her in your priority list, and where you place her in your priority list dictates how high a value she views you. End of story. Living with a woman without being married, okay, without screening for what she was like in her past as much as I should have prior, one of the biggest mistakes that I ever made. Don't do it. Don't do it in any way, shape, or form. It is not good. You'll think that it's going to be the next step in your relationship, and she's going to even press for it. She will press for it. You got to remember that. She will press for it. She will tell you, oh, this is going to be good. We're going to grow together. Saturday morning, we're going to be making pancakes. Watch how quickly the attitude changes. What you're going to see is women will create toxicity and turmoil out of thin air, and you're going to wonder where it even came from. But there's just something about a man being there in front of them every single day that they start to despise. They start to lose respect for him. They start to not appreciate him. They start to, you could make $1 million a month, right? And you could give a woman a world. It's not going to matter. The fact that you have prioritized her quickly in your life, or at a point where you shouldn't have, that is what's going to lower your value, and she's going to become discontent with her reality the more content with your reality you've became. So don't live with a woman. Number 13, thinking purpose equals money. Oh boy, did I go wrong with this one. My whole life in my early 20s, teens and 20s, okay, I was consistently chasing money, and I was chasing a career path that I would think would lead to money. Okay, whether it was my first fitness business, whether it was me being a real estate agent, I was doing things where I told myself, you know what, I'm on my purpose. I'm leveling up as a man as long as I'm making that cash. I can't tell you this. I mean this wholeheartedly, so you don't make this mistake. Like I'm really trying to get vulnerable in this one so you understand. The more money I made in my early 20s, okay, and I've done multiple millions of dollars in sales, like in my early 20s, okay, the worse I felt inside because I had no purpose to why I was doing it. Now, when I look at a project, now when I look at work, now when I look at anything, it's all about the purpose and the drive and the creativity and why I want to do it and why I want to put it into existence. I don't care about money at all anymore. When I say I don't care about money at all anymore, I realize that playing for the paper is the fastest way to lose yourself, and it's the fastest way to lose your soul. That's straight up. Having a lot of casual sex with women, fastest way to get sucked into the materialistic world, be weak to the flesh, lust over women, quickest way to lose your soul. These things I'm telling you because I would go to bed in the worst headspace. It's like I had a cloud of anxiety over me every single day, and I didn't even know where it came from. So I'm telling you this, so you don't do this. You can be on your purpose, right, without it having to even stem into your career right away. And you can be on your purpose without it even having to yield a lot of fruit or make you a lot of money right away. It doesn't matter. You do it for the love, the art. Like I love business. I love thinking about business. I love doing business. I love creating business products, but it's for the game. I fell in love with the game. I'm not trying to buy a Lamborghini. I'm content with the house that I live in now. I'm content with everything. I like myself and I like who I am. And see, when you can do this too, another thing why it's important to be able to like look and analyze your life like that and be content with yourself and like the life setup that you have and like what you're doing for yourself and with yourself is it allows you to walk away from friends or relationships or women that you see are not serving you. So what I mean by that is majority of guys, their current life and their current reality sucks so bad that they're happy to get a sliver of a woman's attention. They're happy to just have a friend. They're happy to just go out to the bar and have a friend like that's there with them. And they're never actually able to put strict qualifications and guidelines on who they want in their life and why. Okay? When you are content with your purpose and you're content with your manhood and your drive and you're content with the life that you have, you're able to tell people no, and you're able to walk away from relationships. You're able to walk away from women. And see, this is a big power play because not a lot of guys are able to do that because their current life is so shitty. Their current life is so shitty that they need that thrill of that other person. They need that dopamine hit of that other person, giving them that gratification. There's no better feeling than being content with your life, being able to wake up on a Saturday morning, looking outside at the sun and realizing that everything's great because of who you made yourself to be. And that comes from being on your purpose and finding that God-given calling. I really do believe that. So that is the 13th mistake that I made. The 12th biggest mistake that I made was being self-centered and neglecting my family. All throughout my early 20s, especially once my parents got a divorce, I would neglect my family. And this is immediate family. This is external family. You know, I wasn't there for them in the way that they were probably there for me. I was very selfish, and I constantly put my desires first. Like if it's Casey's world and if it's what Casey wants, that's all that matters. Screw the rest. And this wasn't good and this wasn't healthy. Family at the end of the day is all you have. At the end of the day, one day you will be on your deathbed. The only thing that you're going to have is your loved ones. You could have $20 million, $30 million, $50 million in the bank. It's not going to matter. What matters is if you got cancer tomorrow, who would be around you? And I was 25 years old, and I thought about that to myself, and I thought, not a lot of people would be around me because I wasn't there for a lot of people. And I thought to myself, you know what? All of these people who follow me on the internet, and I love every one of you guys, every subscriber I'm grateful for, but you know what? I don't know anybody who watches me. And at the end of the day, I can get 1 million likes, 1 million comments, 1 million subscribers. It doesn't matter. The biggest impact is the relationships that I'm going to have right inside of my family and who's around me. And that's all I care about. So that was the 12th, being self-centered and neglecting my family. The 11th mistake as a man is choosing women who are fun and don't have aligned values. When I was young, I would choose women if they're hot, they have a good personality, and they're fun to be around. And I would think that equals chemistry. That doesn't equal chemistry, necessarily. What really matters is values. What do you value in a woman? What type of outlook do you want a woman to have in her life? What sort of outlook on topics and beliefs does she have? And does it align with yours? Nowadays, like as I've gotten older and I prioritize my time far more, if I don't see that myself and the woman have similar values and a similar outlook on life, I don't even entertain the option. And I don't care how beautiful she is. I don't care how, big her boobs are. All of those things mattered to me when I was younger. And yeah, obviously at first glance, physical attraction matters to a guy. But as I get older, I'm all about the values. What does she bring to the table? What could she potentially do? Okay, not only for me, but how could we aid in each other's life for the better together? And these values are extremely important. And see, once again, if you don't see aligned values, once again, the only type of man who can walk away is a man who is high value, because you can generate options, because you know how to be attractive. The grind work still needs to occur. Okay, I'm not disappointed with the grind work and the stuff that I put in to improve myself in my young years. I just am disappointed at my perspective as how that played out. I didn't look at life the same way as I do now. So that right there, number 11, choosing women who are fun and not women who had aligned values. The 10th mistake was not valuing my time and energy. I would put time into the wrong women. I would put time into the wrong friends. I would put time into the wrong social setting and social life. And I would even do activities that I don't care about. Okay. As I would do activities that I don't care about, these were things that my friends at the time, or the people in the social circle would do. So I'd go along with it. And see, that right there is being a follower, and that's not being a leader. I snapped out of this one pretty quick by the time I was about 23, but see, this was still something that I had to understand. From about 18 to about 21, 22, 23, I was consistently doing what the majority of guys my age were doing, and I was falling into those same traps. You cannot be one of those men. It's not going to serve you, and you're going to live an average existence, and that is a terrible spot for a man to be in. That was number 10, not valuing my time and energy. My 9th biggest mistake is in business. I was making products that I wanted to make. This one cuts deep. Yeah, when I was younger and I first started my entrepreneur journey, and any product I'd make it because I wanted to make it and I would want to create it in the world. Biggest business mistake that I ever made, because at the end of the day, it's not about if you have a business, it is not about in any way, shape, or form what you want to make. It is about what they want to buy. Once you know what they want to buy, then and only then is it your job to go out there and make it. But you creating things for the sake of it, just to create it, if your goal in your business is to make more money and sell, this is something that just won't work, because you're going to put a lot of sweat equity into something that won't pan out because people aren't voluntarily able to raise their credit cards for it and actually buy it. It's not good. Number 8, not knowing women are repulsed by love. Now, this is a topic I'm actually going to make in the next day or two, because I had a story that I wanted to tell you of a close friend of mine. But the 8th biggest mistake when I was in my early 20s is not knowing that women are repulsed by a man who falls in love. I'm going to tell you a secret right now. It is impossible for a woman to love and respect a man who is head over heels in love with her. She senses it as weakness. And it doesn't matter. This is how they're hardwired, and this is something you have to accept. And thank God I've accepted this in my early 20s. Me not knowing that women are repulsed by love, I had to learn that the hard way. Because when you see the same patterns and the same trends with women over and over, you start to actually pick up on things. It is impossible for a woman to want you if she knows she can 100% have you. And if she knows that she can 100% have you, and on top of that, you are head over heels in love with her, it is impossible for her to respect you, and she looks at you as a weak individual with weak character. You can't change it. It's a bitter pill you have to swallow, but you can't change it, and you can't fight human nature. You have to accept it in all ways, shapes, and forms. Guys, number 7 is not having a standard for women. Okay, in my earlier years, I would allow women into my life just for being hot. Okay, now, as I've gotten older, the only women that I allow into my life is women who actually bring something to the table beyond their physical beauty. And this is something you have to do, because as a man, you have to remember, as a man, you have to be able to walk away, because you got to know everything that you bring to the table. And if you are a man who's made yourself somewhat cool or somewhat successful, you probably bring a lot to the table. You're probably strong. You probably are able to protect. You're probably able to provide. You're probably able to give emotional support and be strong and stoic in times of distress and hardship. You're able to handle stress, right? You're able to do a lot. Because of that, you deserve a woman who actually brings something to the table. So that's what you have to remember. If a woman isn't bringing anything to the table, if you don't have a standard, okay, you have to be willing to dissolve that, because you have to avoid the scarcity mindset. The scarcity mindset with women, the scarcity mindset with money, everything. You can never live in scarcity. The second you live in scarcity is the second you're in for a rude awakening and a weak existence. So 7, not having a standard for women. Number 6, this is a big one. Thinking burnout with work wasn't real. When I was in my early 20s, I would tell myself burnout isn't real, and I'm a pansy ass if I believe that. Okay? Then at age about 25, the whole world came crumbling down on me from working 60 hours a week for repetitively years on end. And I was sitting in there and I had the most money that I ever had, and I was completely just mentally crushed and fried. And it took a long time for me to recover from that. I'm going to tell you a little secret. I am still recovering from that. I'm still recovering in it from a way to where this is like the first summer that I've ever had where I've purposefully taken more time off. I purposefully took a little bit more time off to hang out with friends. I purposefully took more time off to hang out with girls. I purposefully took more time off to go and get out in the sun every single day. Like, I had to rejuvenate. This was something that took me a long time. Okay, because just like it's easy to fall in love with your work and your purpose, the longer you do it, the quicker and easier it is to actually fall out of love with that and start to hate what you've became. Everything in life is a constant balance. And if you can balance these things, you're going to be far better off in the long run. I used to think burnout wasn't real. It is. 100% it is real. You may start to hate what you do. You may start to hate what you become. If that happens, take a step back. Don't try to keep grinding and fighting it. I've done that too. It doesn't work. Guys, the 5th mistake that I made as a man is keeping low-value friends. When I was younger, I would tolerate friends who maybe they drink a lot, maybe they smoke a lot, maybe they party a lot, maybe they're fun to be around for an hour or two, but besides that, they're constantly looking for the next hit or the next thrill. These people aren't going anywhere. And I'm going to tell you this, a little secret. The more you go somewhere in life, the more they are going to resent you. Since they're going to resent you, you cannot stick around. It's not going to work, and it's not going to be beneficial to your life. So keep that in mind. Keeping low-value friends is something that I did for far too many years, and I can't do it. The 4th and biggest mistake that I made is thinking that I need a big social circle. See, when I was younger, I would oftentimes judge like my worth, or I would judge my worth and my existence based on like how many friends I have or how big my social circle is, or if I threw a party, how big of a event, like how many people would come. Like, those are things that mattered to me because I thought that was cool, and I thought then I'd have a lot of friends, then I'm not bored. It's the fastest way to having low-value relationships, and it's the fastest way to not having any meaning in your life. So keep that in mind. Men who party a lot, they're lost. And I'm going to tell you this, like, I was that guy too where, like, you have a beer, you have your snapback hat on, you think you're cool, right? You're flirting up cute girls, you're hanging with your bros, whatever. Every single guy doing that deep down is lost inside, and he's searching for something more. In my whole life, every single player that I've ever found, every single guy who's a big player with girls, at one point they're all pissed off at their dating life and they're mad at girls. Every single time, like I've also watched the same happen where I've watched athletes, for example, they are tearing through chicks, sleeping with girls left and right, and they find a specific girl that they're hooked on, and they don't understand why their behavior changes. These things are important to remember, and it's because their whole life they were playing for pleasure. They weren't necessarily playing for purpose. This is why thinking that you need a big social circle to constantly fill your time and making sure you're not bored is the fastest way to a one-way ticket to not being fulfilled. Okay, number 3, the 3rd biggest mistake that I made. Letting friends or women move me off center. In the past, if I had a disagreement with a woman, or I had let's say a disagreement with a friend, I would argue my point and I would try to convince them why they're wrong. This is not good. You will never be able to do that to somebody. They have to come to their own conclusions on their own terms. If you have somebody who's moved you off center, the only thing you got to do is you got to remove yourself. And that shows far bigger balls and far bigger strength. Remove yourself, remove the attention, remove the things that you were doing and engaging. Go do something else. Put that energy into different people. Put that energy into different situations and different circumstances. You're going to be far better off in the long run. Guys, the 2nd biggest mistake that I ever made, this one's going to cut deep. Giving toxic family members a hall pass to continue communication. I won't say who, but I did this for years. I would tell myself, you know what? Because of the title of who they are as the family member, okay? For you, that could be aunt, uncle, brother, sister, mom, dad, whatever the case may be. You give them that title because you're related. I would give toxic family members a hall pass to keep communication with them when they weren't doing anything right or adding value to my life. Now, you might say, well, Casey, this contradicts what you're saying, because what you said up top is you said that, which one was it here? Man, I can't remember. I'm going to keep this raw and I'm going to keep this in it too. 2019, partying, not content with life I had, living with a woman, thinking purpose. Yeah, number 12, self-centered and neglecting my family. You might see this video and you might say, well, number 12, you said that neglecting family was an issue. It was an issue, but I'm going to tell you this too. If you have family members who are toxic and they are not willing to change and work on themselves, there's no use in continuing communication. They're going to drain you of your energy. This is a mistake I made. Just because they have that title of specific family member, I would keep communication. You can't do this. And the number one biggest mistake that I ever made in my entire life is thinking I can do everything by myself and not having God as my North Star with all my decisions. Guys, your intuition, your masculine intuition, your God-given purpose, who you are, this is what you have to remember. If you keep God as your North Star with all of your decisions, you will not be led wrong. Because you have that deep down spiritual element and connection with who you are and why you have purpose on this earth. I now do this with business. I do this with dating. I do this with my friends. I do this with anything. I even do this with my own personality. Like, when you make decisions based off that, and you don't make decisions that are rooted in how you feel, and you don't make decisions that are rooted in ego, okay, and you don't make decisions that are rooted in materialism, like getting more money or getting more money, getting more women, and you actually say, hey, I'm put here for a reason. God is my North Star. What are the decisions I need to make? Now you are actually able to be a powerful man. Now you're able to have standards. Now you're able to actually look beyond the physical, and things go deep. And so when things go deep like that, you become a powerful individual. That is where I get my confidence from. You cannot, I believe you can't have confidence without your element of God. Here's what I mean by that. How many guys do you see where you give them $20 million and they're still insecure? They don't feel enough. How many guys do you give six-pack abs to and they still don't feel enough? How many guys do you give, they learn game and flirtation and social skills, but deep down on the inside, they still don't feel enough? God gives you your confidence. God gives you the ability to say, I'm powerful. I have confidence. I'm made in God's image. I'm a strong human. I'm here for a reason. Like the confidence that I come at because God has willed it into me. That is the number one mistake. I didn't probably start doing this until probably about 6 months to a year ago. And, as I have went deeper with that element of my life, I have, became a person of faith. I have studied the Bible. I've became more of a Christian. I definitely believe, in that. And because of that, I believe that is the only way that I can truly will myself to continuing not only my work, my YouTube channel, my purpose, helping you guys, but it's the only way I can continue to make an impact at the level I want to make. So these are the mistakes I've made, as a man. I hope you don't make them. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please share it with a friend. Go down below and check out that MBT webinar. Hit the like button. We'll see you in the next one.